Langley 2 is an elite rarity aircraft carrier from the Eagle Union and is a part of the Independence class of light aircraft carriers. She is currently only available as a point accumulation reward from the Parallel Superimposition event for reaching 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, and 60,000 points. Langley was originally ordered as the Cleveland-class light cruiser Fargo, laid down as Crown Point on the 11th of April 1942, renamed to Langley on the 13th of November 1942, commissioned on the 31st of August 1943, decommissioned on the 11th of February 1947, transferred to the French Navy on the 8th of January 1951, and renamed to the Lafayette, and decommissioned and scrapped in 1963. Langley 2 did the usual tasks an American carrier did in the Second World War. Here are her more interesting exploits. Raided and supported landings at Watje, Taroa Island, Kaualahine, Palu, Yap, Waliai, Caroline Islands, Hollandia, and Truk. During the raid on Truk, she only lost one plane for the 35 shot down. Took part in the invasions of the Palalus, landings on Leyte, the Battle of the Shibian Sea, and the Battle off Cape Engano, where she assisted in the sinking of Zoiho and Zoikaku. In her character art, drawn by Saru, Langley 2 wears a white button-up dress shirt with a red and blue striped tie, black partially fingerless gloves, half-frame glasses, a black suit jacket with striped lapels and cuffs, a very tight-fitting black leather skirt with a belt, thigh-highs with garter belts, black high-heeled shoes, and a biplane hair accessory. Her rigging consists of two armatures in the form of flight decks to her left and right. The one to her left has 27 on the top of the flight deck, multiple glowing blue parts, a crane, and two AA guns. The armatures themselves are floating, same with the attachment point at her back. A whirlpool of water is around her feet, there are two holographic screens next to her, and three F4F Wildcats flying around her. In her voice lines, voiced by Haruka Yoshimura, who also voices Mika Jogasaki in Idolmaster, Yui Nanase in Precure, Momo Kashiwabara in Domestic Girlfriend, MG4 and FAL in Girls Frontline, Yang Guifei in Fate Grand Order, and Nanaka Tano in Precon, Langley acts like a teacher.
指導方針が間違っていたというの。じっとそんな目で見つめてきて、さては、ラングレー先生に聞きたいことでもあるのですか？出撃ご苦労様。ちょっと、どこに行こうとしているのですか？レクチャーは始まったばかりですよ。指揮官、真面目に。ルールを覚えるのは大事です。これらはすべて過去の教訓から得られたものですよ。もしかして指揮官は個人指導をしてほしいの？話を聞かない子たちは教育が必要ですね。新しい宿題はもう指揮官に送りましたよ。ちゃんと期日通りにやってくださいね。
At level 125 with max affinity and enhancements, Langley has 4,904 HP, 346 aviation, 278 AA, 194 reload, 86 evasion, medium armor, 31 speed, 91 accuracy, 70 luck, 100 anti-sub, and consumes 11 oil. Langley has two skills, which focus on buffing herself and other carriers. Langley's first skill, Miss Langley's Guidance, at level 10, when the battle starts, Langley buffs her own aviation by plus 5% for each carrier and light carrier in the same fleet as her, which would be a max, including her, of plus 15%. The damage of her first two airstrikes is also increased by plus 20% each battle. Her second skill, Miss Langley's Strict Discipline, at level 10, increases the accuracy of all the carriers and light carriers, not including herself, by plus 10%. When Langley launches an airstrike, plus 10% damage dealt by carriers and light carriers for 8 seconds. The recommended equipment for Langley is the prototype XF5U Flying Flapjack or F7F Tiger Cat, a Wyvern, Spearfish, or XTB 2D-1 Sky Pirate, twin 40mm Bofors ST-AAG, 2 gold steam catapults, and a scepter. Langley 2 is another one of those ships that has the potential to be interesting or decent on paper, but in practice falls apart pretty quickly because she's just that bit far away from, well, meeting those standards. The biggest offense she has against her are her stats, which are overall lower compared to her Independence class sisters such as San Jacinto, Baton, and of course Independence herself, even in her base form. Then we have her skills. Her S1 does really seem like it would be good for a mob fleet, since the latter half increases her airstrike damage by plus 20% for each battle, with no mention of a cap anywhere. But this plus 20% is only for the first 2 airstrikes of a battle. The first half of her S1 also requires you to semi-build a fleet around her, having an all-carrier backline, with the upside being that there's no class or faction restriction, and the downside being that Langley is the only one to get these buffs. On the topic of buffs, her S2 gives a very small 10% buff to the other 2 carriers in the same fleet as her, one of which only being for 8 seconds. Again, if her skills had a higher buff to herself and to other carriers, or the damage was not for the first 2 airstrikes, or these buffs were shared between all carriers, I could really see her being used in a carrier-focused mob fleet. But as she is now, there's just zero reason to use or raise her. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter and Blue Sky for updates, and please check out my other Arknights and Girls Frontline videos as well.